Today, as I mentioned, we're going to start a new series for November, and it's about remember and releasing. And so today, we've been busy transforming the sanctuary here and just preparing for really our day of remembrance for our ancestors, our loved ones, our spiritual ancestors as well. So I talked about Day of the Dead last week, and actually, I'm going to put this down. So last week, I talked about what Day of the Dead was. So I'm not going to do that. If you all missed it, you can go to our YouTube channel or go to our Facebook page, or Facebook page to be able to find that. But I'll just briefly tell you all what it is. It's a Mexican holiday and tradition that's a day of remembrance for our ancestors, for those who have transitioned. And it's about honoring family, honoring bonds, honoring those who have come in the past, who have made us who we are. And it's also remembering that nothing is ever lost. Energy doesn't go away. Energy doesn't dissipate. It just transforms, right? So it's that reminder that we are inextricably tied to each other, inextricably tied to the past and even to the future. And so we remember this today when we honor and celebrate. And when we do this, we're not just honoring the past, but we're also honoring our lives. Because sometimes when we see people who have transitioned, when we remember our loved ones, we remember to live life fully, do we not? We remember the preciousness of life, the beauty of life, and the wonder that we have to be able to live in this realm and enjoy it. So it calls us forth to really enjoy life as well. But one thing that it also does is it reminds us of our stories. If we look at this amazing altar that we have in the back, it is absolutely spectacular. And thank you for those of you who brought in your loved ones. But when we see those pictures, they're really remembrances of stories, are there not? You remember that fishing trip that we took with Dad and Mom, or we remember that tradition, or that holiday, that Thanksgiving meal, that meal somewhere, that trip somewhere. All of those pictures really are memories that really are our stories. And stories are powerful. It's also, when we do this, a way for us to process and heal. It's a way for us to process trauma and to process grief. And as I mentioned last week, it is about people who have transitioned. It is about death, but it also creates this beautiful spiritual opening to be able to heal other things that have happened in our lives, whether they happened to ourselves, our family members, our bodies. It helps us open up this space for healing. And so today we're going to remember the power of the story. Those of you who were at Coco last night, raise your hand. Yeah. Coco is such a beautiful movie, and I'm not going to give you any spoiler alerts. So those of you who haven't seen it, I won't tell you a whole lot about it. But it's a beautiful story about a young boy named Miguel who loves music. He feels it so passionately and so deeply, and his family has forbidden music. And he's so confused because he feels it so deeply, and yet he's told it's evil, it's wrong, he cannot play. And so through this whole series of events, he comes to decide that he's going to take control of his life, that he's going to recreate his own story, and he's going to really connect to that power of music that runs through him. And so he starts to go on this journey, which ends up in the land of the dead. And so all of these things happen there. But one of the most amazing things that happens there is he realizes what his family story is. And he realizes how he can do something through his own actions to be able to redefine and retransform that family story. So in the story, right, he finds out that there was all this, he knows that there's all this hurt and this pain that was associated with music because his great-grandfather was a musician. And so the story went that he had left their family in ruin, and that music was a source of evil because of that. And so he comes to find out in the story that they had been told that they believed was actually not true, that it was more complicated and complex. And so he goes on this beautiful journey to be able to tell the truth, to come forth and tell the truth, and at the same time heal his family, heal his legacy, and be able to share with the world this beautiful thing called music that is really a way that we can feel and see spirit. When you hear the musicians up here, don't you feel and hear spirit? That's the beauty of music. It's a strike through, immediate. We don't have to talk, we don't have to anything. It just comes through us like lightning. And that's the beauty of music. And so that was his gift, right? So we have that idea of how then can we think about what Coco did and what we can do in our own lives? Because here's the truth. Here's the truth, y'all. We all come from family lineages with pain, with trauma, with issues, right? But we, like Coco, can still be able to transform that, resurrect that, and heal that. What Coco does in this movie that we don't think about, he is healing intergenerational trauma. He goes to the past to see what happens, to be able to heal it within himself. And the beautiful part at the end of the movie, he's holding his little sister. Do y'all remember that? And it's almost like he's saying, I am here for you, and I have cleared the path for you to be free. And then the grandmother has passed, and she's on the altar. This beautiful circle of life that we see. We don't talk about that very often, but there is a very real thing that there is trauma that are passed down through generations and generations and generations, and we are products of that, and we don't even know. We don't know it. We don't know that some of the things that plague us, some of the things that hurt us, some of the things that make us sad, that make us do weird things, if you will, are really because we're reacting to the past. Charles Fillmore, in The 12 Powers of Man, says the following. He says, the beliefs that you and your ancestors have held in mind have become thought currents so strong that their course in you can be changed only by your resolute decision to entertain them no longer. They will not be turned out unless the ego through whose domain they run decides positively to adopt a means of casting them out of this consciousness, and at the same time erects gates that will prevent their inflow from external sources. What does that mean? He's saying that we do carry all of this with us. And we, by the power of changing our mind and changing the way we interpret things and changing the way we experience things in our bodies, we are able to redesign our very DNA and our affairs, not just our physical structure, but our emotional, mental, and spiritual structure. By casting this out of our consciousness. Let's think about the spiritual tradition we come from with Jesus. Now we see in the Bible, right, he's casting out demons, and that sounds weird to us. Like, was somebody really possessed as like poltergeist or what is it, exorcist or whatever? But at the same time, there's something, if we look at that metaphysically, what are we doing when we're casting out demons? We're casting out negative thoughts. We're casting out the thoughts of lack. We're casting out the thoughts that we are no good. We are casting out the thoughts that maybe have come through us from our parents, from our families, from our grandparents, from previous generations. We are casting them out and saying, no, I do not. I deny you. I claim the truth as part of the living presence of the Christ consciousness, and I am free. I am free from that. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're casting out demons, and Coco in the movie says, I'm going to follow my heart, and I'm going to seize this moment. And that's how he starts this whole journey. Today, we have the opportunity to do that. And let me just say to you all, this is not spiritual woo-woo. This is not spiritual woo-woo. Those of you who follow science or who need a little bit more, and I appreciate those of you who do, has anybody ever heard of epigenetics? This is a real thing that scientists now know, that we carry in our DNA, in our molecular structure, pain and trauma. There was a study that was done a number of years ago on rats. And what they did was they had rats and the scent of cherry blossoms around them, and then they would shock them. I know it sounds horrible, right? They would shock them. So the rats began to associate trauma, that shocking of their bodies, with cherry blossoms. Guess what? Those rats had babies. And then they did the same experiment on them. But they didn't shock them. They just put the cherry blossoms around them. And guess what's happened? Their hearts started racing. They started to biologically react to that as if they were being shocked. And then guess what? They did it with even further generations. Can we imagine this? That this is what is happening to us. That we carry all of these things in our molecular DNA, in our epigenetics, that we have the power to change. Charles Fillmore talked about it, as a collective consciousness, maybe as the race consciousness, and that we can think about it as well. But we are all carrying these heavy chains that we're dragging around unconsciously from our family to the next. The question is, do we want them to continue? Do we want them to go to our children? Do we want them to continue on to our grandchildren? No, we don't. So we have the power to be able to change that. Changing your life story here today. What is your ancestral legacy? Is it pain? Is it abuse? Is it neglect? Is it addiction? Is it violence? Discrimination, persecution, emotional absence, mental, physical challenges? What is your ancestral lineage that you want to hold today to be able to change? What is that you want to be able to work with here today collectively, that we can think about how we are going to resurrect something? We are going to recreate a new story individually and collectively. Who's ready for that? Who's ready to let go of some of that past that has really weighed us down? Yes, we are ready to do this. And so we are practical Christianity, are we not, people? We practice, and so we are going to practice right here and right now. So upon coming in, each of you were given a little Ziploc bag. Yes, everybody have their Ziploc bag? So you're going to take all that good stuff out as we prepare. So I'm going to tell you first what we're going to do, because I know those of you like to know, because I'm the same way. I want to know what we're doing. And then we're going to walk through this. Those of you who are online, maybe you just grab a piece of paper and a pen. You can even use your phone, like little memo, to be able to put something in there. So you have 3 things in your baggie. You have a tea light, a battery-operated tea light that you can turn on the bottom. You have your little paper with the colorful skull, and you have a pencil. If you have a pen with you and you want to use that, go ahead. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this into meditation. So I'm going to invite our musicians, whoever's going to come up to assist us with this. And so we're going to traverse this for a second. But I want to let you know we're going to take some time meditating and preparing for our ritual today. And then I'll let you know what we're going to do with those pieces of paper. All right? All right. Ready?
Remember me, for I will soon be gone. Remember me, and let the love we have live on, and know that I'm
me, let's take this into meditation. I invite you all to just close your eyes. If you don't usually close your eyes, I invite you and challenge you to do so. As we close our outer eye and we allow our inner eye to open. We take some beautiful, deep cleansing breaths, breathing maybe the deepest breath that you have breathed in your life, allowing that breath to just come through you, that oxygen, that air as a reminder that you are alive and that you are here and that you are a child of God and you are here to do God's work and you are here ready to heal and transform and to be. We take that deep breath as we ready ourselves and we claim the true nature of our being as Christed beings. We claim the true nature of our beings as part of this universal cosmic energy, as truth, as love, as hope, as faith. We take some deep breaths. We allow ourselves to open in this beautiful, sacred, and safe space. We allow ourselves to open and to feel. As you feel your heart opening, you feel yourself here present in this presence. You feel yourself ready to heal. And as you open, you call in the light. What does that mean to you? You call in your ancestors, maybe. You call in those dearly departed. You call in your trusted furry friends that were your guides and companions that have moved on. You call in maybe your angels or your spirit guides or the masters or ascended masters or whatever your spirit calls you to have here in this moment to feel the sacred and feel safe. We just breathe that in. That wonderful energetic presence that is us, around us, within us, and it is here guiding us, comforting us, sourcing us and resourcing us to be able to create new stories in our lives. And so we first give thanks for our ancestors, all those that are on our altar here, on our virtual altar, on the chat. We give thanks for their presence in our life, and we know sometimes those ancestors may have brought pain and grief in our life, may have brought some hurt, but we know that we can transform that to be a launching pad for our power, a launching pad for our healing, a launching pad for the new story that we are going to create and the freedom that we are going to feel and be and know in our lives. So we breathe that in. And I'm going to invite you right now to just take a moment to just feel something we don't normally allow ourselves to do. What are we feeling right now as we think about our loved ones that have transitioned? We allow whatever needs to be felt, knowing that we are here supported by each other and by this energetic presence that holds us, caresses us, and keeps us. So whatever you're feeling, allow it to just release. Maybe it's tears, maybe it's some kind of feelings, maybe whatever it is, just don't judge it. Allow it to just be. And we breathe that in. And we allow. And as we do that, we want to be able to affirm this new story. We want to be able to see, what are we releasing within that today? What are we calling forth? What are we claiming? Are we claiming health? Are we claiming wholeness? Are we claiming abundance? Are we claiming perfection? What is it that you, within your new ancestral story, that you are gifting to your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and all of those even before you, but all those behind you? You can also heal those behind you. What are you claiming today? And I'm going to invite you right now to just open your eyes for a second. Take your paper in your hand. Turn on your light if you haven't. And place the names of your dearly departed on that paper. And in this space, maybe you want to put on that paper other losses. Is it a loss of a relationship? Is it the loss of your job? What are you mourning? What are you in the process of creating a new story about that you need to release, that you need to heal, that you need some support on? Place that on your paper. Know that as we do this, we are changing our story. So I'm going to invite you all now, if you feel called, and I'll direct you all in sections. If you would like to place your paper on our altar, you can do so. And if you want to place it there and then take it back later, if you want to place your light there and take it back, you know what you need to do today. And so we will allow whatever feels good for you here today. But if Spirit is moving you to take your paper and place it on the altar, I invite you to do so. So I'm going to start here with this first row here. And those of you who are on the live stream, you can do this at home. It is equally as powerful as you're holding this in your heart. If there's anyone here in this row that would like to go and place their ancestors, their new lineage here. I'm going to invite this section right here. If those of you who'd like to go ahead and place their ancestors on our altar. And if you don't, that's okay too. And just find a space, an open space, as we hold space for you and your loved ones here today. We hold space for those that are in our heart, those who always live on in our heart. And we give thanks. So this section, right here in front of me, those who would like to be able to place that. We give thanks today for those who have come before us, We give thanks today for those who have come before us in this institution, in this church, in this spiritual sanctuary, our spiritual ancestors, founder of Unity Nashville, Elizabeth Pierce Sand. We say her name. Elizabeth Sand Turner, Elizabeth Chester, Arthur Poissant, Lily Smith, Margaret Ann Felt, Mary Elizabeth Sand Turner. These are all the ministers that have come before us, and there are many more. We hold them in our heart. We would not be here today without their passion, their zeal, their commitment, and their belief in this thing called the Unity Movement. Those at this row who are ready, you may go ahead and place their ancestors. All of the congregants who came before us, who held the high watch, we feel them deeply today here with us. Many of you have parents that were part of this church even before you. We hold them in our heart here today, thanking them so deeply for giving us this amazing spiritual legacy called Unity of Nashville. Those of you who also know we give thanks for our founders, our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who are on our altar, who started this over 100 years ago. We feel their presence here today, remembering the charge they gave us to pray and to be the presence, to feel the presence, to know the presence, to be able to work truth principles to change our lives. So we hold that space here today as we allow for a few final folks who are leaving their folks there. Let's just take one more deep breath together. We release and we give thanks for this opportunity to be able to be here together, to share this beautiful ritual together, to open up this space and to know that we are already blessed and that we are moving forward in life, breaking the chains that bind us and moving forward mightily with and in spirit. And so it is.